Developed by Jasozz Games and published by 3D Realms, Cultic is a throwback shooter that saw the release of its first chapter on October 13th of 2022, and an additional interlude level has also been released very recently. At first glance, one might expect Cultic to be a clone of Monolith's Blood, their classic from 1997, and the last game I reviewed on this channel. But in reality, Cultic dances on the line between a boomer shooter and a slower-paced FPS, with little touches of survival horror. Don't get me wrong, this is not a survival horror game. If anything, it is an action horror game that is much more akin to something like Resident Evil 4. However, with a sawed-off shotgun that is devastating at close range and the throwing of dynamite bundles to blow up groups of zombies and robed cultists, it is impossible not to compare this game to Blood. Cultic does do its own thing though, and it does this very well. Probably one of the best aspects about Cultic is the atmosphere. The environments, lighting, and ambient music all work beautifully together to create a rich, moody, and unnerving atmosphere that will keep you on edge over the course of its 10 and now 11 level campaign. In Cultic, you will move through forests at nighttime, lumber mills, a cargo ship, caverns, mines, crypts, and abandoned insane asylums, all settings that fit perfectly within the dark atmosphere. While the music is often ambient in nature, and while there sometimes isn't even any music at all, Cultic's soundtrack will always ramp up to coincide with the bigger fights that take place over the course of your journey. And it is in these action-packed moments when Cultic's combat gets to truly shine. The weapon roster includes a hatchet, which is great for saving ammo, especially during the first level, but like with any shooter, the real meat of the weapon lineup are the guns. These guns include a pistol, sawed-off shotgun, lever-action rifle, Sten submachine gun, FG-42, grenade launcher, and a flamethrower. In addition to this, you also have access to dynamite bundles and Molotov cocktails, as well as lanterns and explosive barrels that can be found in the environment to be thrown or placed in order to be used as weapons in their own right. The pistol is very reliable in the early game, but is quickly outclassed by the Sten submachine gun due to the fact that these two guns share the same ammo pool. The sawed-off shotgun is easily the best close-range option, as it is absolutely devastating up close, and can fire one or both barrels at once, much like Blood's sawed-off shotgun. However, the biggest difference between Blood and Cultic's gameplay is the fact that Cultic has many combat encounters that take place over very long distances, which is where the lever-action rifle and the FG-42 come into their own. The scoped, highly powerful FG-42 is a particularly fun sniper rifle, capable of easily landing beautiful and bloody headshots that are always glorious to behold. In fact, the game will even slow down time to let you fully appreciate these moments. In addition to this, you also have the grenade launcher and dynamite bundles, which do exactly what they say on the tin. But beyond that, there are also fire weapons, such as the Molotov cocktails and flamethrower, which are easily the most effective weapons in the game at medium range. This might be the best flamethrower that I have used in any first-person shooter, and the Molotov cocktails work similarly well at lighting enemies ablaze very quickly. With these two weapons, you can do a lot of damage with minimal ammunition. It's also worth noting that Cultic does something really cool with its health system. Much like in Blood, you can find field kits that go into your inventory and can be used at any time. But while every other first-person shooter with this system or a similar system would separate the field kit health pool from smaller instant-use health pickups, Cultic adds the health values of these pickups to the field kit if your health is already full, as long as your field kit isn't already at 100%. This prevents instant-use health pickups from going unused if you don't need them at the moment. In other words, if you use a partial amount of your field kit, you can fill it up to 100% again by grabbing what would otherwise be instant-use only health pickups. As stated previously, Cultic skirts the edge of being a boomer shooter and a slower-paced shooting experience. It has its moments where you are essentially put into an arena blasting countless cultists and supernatural abominations, and it certainly feels like a classic boomer shooter during these encounters. Oftentimes, though, you are pitted against snipers who are seeking to bring you down over great distances, and these long-range combat encounters certainly slow the game down more than your typical old-school FPS. But this really isn't a bad thing. I actually quite like that Cultic isn't afraid to be more of a slower-paced shooter at times, and the player isn't always forced to sit back and snipe enemies. On the higher difficulties, I would certainly recommend that you do so, but players will find that they quite regularly have a choice between taking enemies out from a distance or moving up on their position to take them out at short to medium range. And these are not the only situations where players might need to take it slow, as there are also quiet, brooding sections of gameplay that lean heavily into horror and building tension. So all in all, there's a lot of variety in the gameplay and combat encounters to be found in Cultic. And with horror being a staple of Cultic's design, there are plenty of dark and twisted enemies to slay. You have your aforementioned cultists and zombies, with cultists wielding various types of weaponry, from pistols, shotguns, and machine guns, to even grenade launchers and flamethrowers. But on top of that, you have giant, gruesome monsters that appear as though they have been created in Dr. Frankenstein's lab. Then you have strange, telekinetic corpses with cloaks draped over their heads and bodies that float in the air and can pick up any object that isn't nailed down and hurl them at the player. There are even skeletal soldiers that only appear in the crypt level, and chainsaw-wielding maniacs that might remind players of the same enemy type from Resident Evil 4. And they can really make you sweat if you're caught in a claustrophobic space with these guys. Trust me, that chainsaw touches you and you are a dead man. The new Interlude level takes place in a police station, and the reason for the player being here seems to be made intentionally vague and mysterious, since we went through a portal after our showdown with the final boss of Chapter 1, and we might not even be in the same time or dimension anymore. The Interlude level introduces us to a couple new weapons, a semi-automatic shotgun and a revolver, with the revolver really being the star of the show. The new shotgun feels somewhat weak in comparison to the sawed-off shotgun from Chapter 1, but the revolver feels like an absolute powerhouse, with great feedback and a firing noise that sounds like a thunderclap. You don't just blow off the heads of cultists with this revolver, you nuke their heads into oblivion. The Cultic experience so far is a fantastic one, with Chapter 1 and the Interlude showcasing great level design, atmosphere, enemy variety, and combat. Cultic has been one of my favorite shooters of the past few years, and if you haven't played it yet, I would highly recommend that you do so. Let's just hope that this gem gets a second chapter that is just as good, if not better, than the first. As always, thank you for watching the video. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed it, dislike it if you didn't, and of course, enjoy the rest of your day. Goodbye now.